All right, welcome back to another lesson. This is lesson 3.5, where we're just going to be going over the key for what you just did in lesson 3 on making an accessible Word document. And for this, I'm just going to be going through the actual document itself and making the changes. And so you can just pull up your document alongside us as we go through and see if you got all of these changes. And if there's also other things that you felt you needed to fix while going through the document, and I don't show it in this video, that doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. Every time we present this, we always get a lot of other issues that come up because accessibility is something that's, pretty hard to perfect. And also a lot of it can be, stylistic choices, but these are the things that we are going for in our actual changing of this document. To start off, we'll go to the header up here and double click. And this is all one image at the very top. And of course, since it's an image, we're going to want to add an alt text to it. The alt text right now just says logo. And so instead of that, we would want to add something such as University Writing and Provost Office of Auburn logo, perhaps. Something like that, just to get the idea across to individuals who might not be able to see that logo quite as well. And once we exit out of that, if we go to view and then open the navigation pane, we're going to see that it looks very, very strange over here on the left side. First and foremost, the title up here isn't actually labeled as a title. And so it's when we look at the hidden characters, we can see that an individual actually just spaced this out to be center aligned instead of just using the actual center align function. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this, and then we're going to want to apply our actual heading 1 style. And then we're also going to want to take out all of these space keys and bring it over to the left side. Most of the time, we actually left align our titles. Many individuals will come in and center align it, and usually we try and keep it on the left side, mostly for the hierarchy over here, so it all looks the same. But also, while looking at the hierarchy, you can tell that we skip one of the headings here, which we always want to avoid. So I want to come into the develop your statement and go to heading 2 instead of heading 3. And that's going to make it so that all of our headings are going to need to be edited. They really all just need to be bumped up one. Because we never want to skip from a heading 1 to a heading 3 or a heading 2 to a heading 4. All right, now that that is all taken care of, we can move on to another option or another error here. And this one is one that sneaks past a lot of individuals, but if we come under the reflection, there's actually 2 typos. One is toe list instead of to list. And then empathize instead of emphasize. And so while it's not something that we really explicitly say a lot, typos are accessibility errors. They make it so it's harder to understand the document. And so we also want to go through and check for any typos. These here are 2 that Microsoft Word usually doesn't find as their, actual correct words, just used in the wrong context here. Then if we just continue to scroll down the document, we'll come across where Rachel is talking about her actual e-portfolio. And so here, typing out the entire URL isn't actually a terrible thing if we're going to provide this in a paper format. And so that way you can see the URL on paper and then search it up on your device. But since we also provide everything electronically, we're also going to want to embed our hyperlink. So as we talked about, a good place to embed this is somewhere that kind of points you to that website, which doesn't explicitly say, click here to view her website. And so a perfect place in the sentence is just in her e-portfolio. So then we'll just go here and add a link. And then copy that address that we just put in. And then there we go. And then lastly, if we continue to move down, we come across these funky text boxes. One's a text box and one's an image. And so as we spoke on, we really want to avoid using text boxes as it's just going to make it difficult for a screen reader to kind of figure out where it needs to go. And also this text box itself is using a fancy font that can be difficult to read. And then also it isn't really a color that contrasts well with the background. So this is something that we would want to put into our document if we deem it actually necessary. And then we can just delete this text box. And then this image here, let's say we wanted to keep this image. The first thing we would do is, of course, not make it crooked, and that's not going to help anybody. And of course, we would also want to add an alt text to this image. But since it's not really adding anything for a stylistic standpoint, we're actually just probably better off getting rid of it and typing this into the document as well. And making it a darker font so that's not something that is difficult to read with the contrast in the background. Of course, if you wanted, you can, bold this last message and move it down a little bit, make it more appealing to the eye if that's what you were really going for with the text box and the image. But using those actual elements isn't going to help your reader understand the document any better. And so that is all. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you found any other errors or any other things that you thought needed to be fixed accessibility wise, feel free to leave us a comment and talk about why you made the changes that you did under the Canvas page. And I'm sure that y'all did wonderful with this lesson. And these are the changes that we ended up making for our actual key of the accessibility document.